Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Wisdom Cafe Live. My name is Dr. Bob Choat. I'm known as the Transformational Grandmaster. And my beautiful co host, all the way there in Orlando, Florida, is Dr. Sofie Nubani, the queen of laughter and wisdom. So, Sofie, how are you doing today?
Blessings. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you. And excited. We have Mr. Gomez on a live show. We were able to track him and grab him and make it happen.
Hey, I'm excited too. I'm excited. I don't know which time zone I'm in. I don't know if I'm Eastern, Mountain, or Central, but I'm here. So
Yes.
So it's all over, all over the time zones crossing. I'm Pacific time. Sophia's Eastern time, and our guest today, the Daniel Gomez, who just came off of his speaking tour, and he's now back home in San Antonio, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that. But this guy, I was reading a lot in terms of not only the bio that he gave me, but I did an exploration into him, and he's no he's by the way, he's won awards in terms of what he does in helping out businesses and individuals and executives and much more. He's known as a business strategist, corporate trainer, and confidence architect. He's also the president and founder of Daniel Gomez Enterprises. Now, he's done events all over the world. He's coached numerous people, and people have like even gone into his programs and has grown. He's also the best-selling author of You Were Born
International
best-selling author. Yes.
Excuse me, we got to do the correction. It's a lot of hard work on those books when they get out.
So right here, You Were Born to Fly. And
there it is. There it is. Let me.
Oh yes.
Right there.
See, love it. Amen to that too. It's a good affirmation.
and after talking to him prior to coming on, this guy has a lot of energy, high energy, lots of motivation, and I can see why people are inspired by this guy right here to not only to bring him in as a coach, but as a speaker and much more. And he's has an interesting story in terms of his journey and where he's come from and where he's going to and so much more. So, Daniel, I want to welcome you here to Wisdom Cafe Live, and I'm going to enjoy this experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm like, it's like my wife goes, "You're going to do an interview this night?" I said, "Hey, it's Friday night. I'm excited. Let's make it happen. Come on. Boom, baby. It's showtime." I'll never forget. I went to a training. We went to a training at my old corporation that I worked at. They took us actually to Disney World. And one thing that stuck out for me from that training that we went to in Disney World, Disney tells their employees, no matter what, when you're clocked in, you're on stage. It's showtime. And I took that with me, and mentally, it's like no matter where you're at, it's always showtime. You're always on stage because you never know who's watching.
Listen, you just love to perform. That's what it is. And on my end, Mr. Gomez, I truly want to welcome you to our Meet the Author on Wisdom Cafe Live. You are an amazing individual, very much respected in your industry. And what's so beautiful is you have this servant leadership. And another thing that I would like to add on my end is I love the way you interact also as a family man. And your dedication to your career did not take you away from your relationship with your amazing, beautiful family, and your wife in particular. It's so refreshing to see that. I see that there's the women's conference coming up. There's so much stuff, and to see that this man that's in leadership and also it is projected through his wife's work too, and that's really nice that you're able to be that vessel and to be that joy together, and it's such a beautiful thing. I had to bring it out, okay?
No,
Yeah. So
well, you say that, and so the last show we had, we're actually going to have a show tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, the Fighting Your Inner Beauty show. The last show we did 2 weeks ago, she's like,
I heard that one. I did.
She goes, maybe I won't even need you next time. I'm like, good. Because I don't want to do it anymore.
I listened to it.
now here's the interesting thing. The people that don't know, and I just found out after reading the information, is that your wife had gone through breast cancer, and
Yes.
and that must have been a major challenge for both you in terms of dealing with that. But good stuff has come out of it, right?
Well, great stuff. I would say, I would say as human beings, I was just reading this the other day, right? A lot of my wisdom comes from the biblical, just principles that have been proven. And I was reading, right? Too much honey is not good for the stomach, right? Too much of anything, after a while, you take it for granted. And being with my wife for almost 25 years, it's like I was taking her for granted. I didn't see it. And it takes almost losing someone to really like say like, oh man, like what can you get mad about? Because it was my responsibility, because I wasn't watering that plant the way I should have been. And I was watering my employees. I was taking care of my work family very, very well, except that my home family was the one that was suffering. So it definitely wakes you up, Dr. Bob.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's projecting, because I instantly started seeing this vibe and connection and togetherness, and it's beautiful. It's so nice and beautiful to see, a husband really taking that leadership role, but also showcasing his wife in a beautiful way. It's so beautiful, so precious.
And I gotta say, I just came from Denver, and I really didn't see it. And I'm bringing up Denver because I had lunch with a good friend of mine, Titus, up there, and we went to go lunch. We went to go eat.
Shout out to Titus,
yeah,
okay, if you're listening.
yeah, but he said something that I didn't. That he said something that I guess you don't see it because we're living it, right? And after our speaking academy, we took our speakers out. We went to the river walk. We had a great time. Had a dinner down there, and he goes, "Man," he goes, "You don't realize, but how blessed you are that your wife has joined you on your journey of personal growth and development, and y'all are doing this together." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I would love to have that. Like that's you don't see that." And when he said that, I took a step back and I was like, you know what? My wife has really grown with me these last 2 years a lot. The first year, of course, she was going through her surgeries and reconstruction, but once she opened her heart to it, it's like now she hears me all the time on the phone what I say, and she's grown by just listening to me because she's been working from home this whole year. And now it's like she says, "Why did you say that?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, sometimes you don't say it like that. You say it like this." So she's coaching me because she hears me coach everybody. And it's like, I'm like, so it's actually helped me become a better leader, a better husband, and a better businessman, because it's like I have that, not in a bad way, but I have that voice speaking to me in a positive manner saying, "Why did you do it that way? You shouldn't say it that way." And we don't hear ourselves because 95% of what we say is habitual and ritual. So it's really helped me become a better coach, a better businessman. And I think that's an attribute of why our business has actually doubled this past year, even though the pandemic's here. I mean, we scaled to double what we did last year, and it's just been by that and the grace of God. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yes. Actually, this pandemic, for a lot of businesses, if they haven't been able to transition well, they are really suffering. But those who have, it's an opportunity, because more people actually need those services, and they're looking for solutions of what you're offering. So if you're not really out there, they're not reaching you. They don't know how to get to you, but they need your service. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to say to that, and you're right, because I don't care what you do. I don't care if you make donuts. I don't care if you sell dresses. I don't care if you're retail, computers, whatever you do. If you lose your confidence, you're not going to win. You can't win in life without confidence. You can't win in business without confidence. And if you think of any championship team in sports, whether it's tennis, hockey, basketball. Any championship team that has lost their confidence, they end up losing, because you cannot win in life without confidence. And I'll challenge anybody on that, because once you lose that confidence, you lose that edge, you lose that instinctive behavior, and you're done. And many people have lost their confidence in business, and that's why they're regressing instead of progressing.
Now, let me ask you, and piggyback on the confidence part and regarding business, because a lot of businesses have not been able to shift and adapt. There's one thing I learned in recon back in the Marine Corps is that any challenge that we come up to, you first of all, you address the challenge, and the challenge is there, and then you um, adapt to it, you improvise, and you overcome the challenge. What would be your insights regarding businesses today that face, let's say, like something like the pandemic or otherwise, and they still try to do things the way they've always done when that hasn't worked? What would you say about that?
Well, that's easy. That's two things. It's two things that I see when I go into businesses, is they lack integrity. And it's not the integrity, the moral integrity. It's the integrity, the structure of who they are, and the structure of their business, right? And so just think about this. And I use this as an anchor on purpose. Integrity, the best way I can describe it for those that don't understand it, is that think of the three little pigs. You have the house that was built of straw, you have the house that was built of sticks, and you have the house that was built of bricks. And the wolf could blow all those other two houses down, but the one that was made of brick, that was made of integrity, that was stronger, that no matter how hard he blew, it couldn't blow it down. And guess what? COVID came and blew, and all those businesses that lacked the integrity, that lacked that inner strength, the proper foundation, they fell over and they're suffering. So if you don't have the right foundation, you're not going to make it.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And if you and this is one thing that I see, and it breaks my heart, because I go into these businesses and their accounting sucks, their bookkeeping sucks. And if you don't have integrity and report all your income, if you're trying to save taxes, the only thing you're hurting is you. Because I have a saying that when I do my corporate trainings is shortcuts equal short paychecks. And if you're trying to take shortcuts and not report all your income, all your revenue, the only person you're hurting is you and your business. Because a lot of those businesses that are struggling right now is they lack the integrity. So since they lack the integrity, then you reap what you sow.
Yep. Yep.
Makes sense.
Yes, I really love that. That was one thing that was instilled in me, even before the Marines, but also during that time, is that we train to build a good, strong foundation, and we train 2 to 3 times as hard as for the actual mission. So by the time the mission came around, no matter what we came across, we were able to overcome that obstacle. And even if we never faced something like that before, we were able to deal with it and adjust to it, and then improvise to say, okay, we will figure out a way. And a way is there. We just have to look for it, and they just keep going for it to have a successful outcome.
And that's the second answer that I was going to say, right? What you just said is huge. You had a mission, you overcame the obstacles. And the second reason people have failed or are failing right now is because they're not committed. The businesses that ain't succeeding, they're not committed. So if you're not committed to your business, you're not going to bet on yourself. And to answer your question, I had to make a big investment in my business this year. I had to invest thousands more than what I did last year. But the reward was there because I made the investment. Because I don't want to go back to work for somebody else. I'm not going to go work. I'm committed to it. And the businesses that are lacking the commitment, they're like, well, I can always go back to being a teacher. I can go back to doing. No, you're not going to make it. Because if you only have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're going to fail. Because your mindset, as soon as you hit that resistance, as soon as you hit that obstacle, you're already programmed, because you know you have that plan B in the back of your mind or waiting for you, and you can't think that way. I don't want to go back to running businesses. I want to run my own business. Why am I going to make everybody else millions? But it takes an investment in yourself, and even if you have to invest more money than what you wanted to, you have to do it. And most people ain't willing to take that risk, so they never succeed. If you think about, I'm not a big, I don't know the whole story, but that what comes to mind right now is everybody knows Beyonce, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
don't,
Oh, yeah.
but they don't realize what her dad went. The dad mortgaged the house. That's how much he believed, and he was committed to helping his daughter to mortgage. Think about that. I don't even know if I would mortgage my house for my daughter, right? But that's how much he believed in Beyonce, that he mortgaged the house. But look at the reward. He took that risk, but look at the reward that it gave him and his family, right? Regardless of whatever. I'm not talking about whatever their life they live or their beliefs. I'm not talking about, but the business side of it is he mortgaged his house, and look at the life that,
You
as
know,
far as
it's
the
funny
business
you
goes.
mentioned that particular scenario about her dad mortgaging the house. So he had risk tolerance, right?
Yes.
And in my book, I actually bought Beyonce as an example on risk tolerance part of the acronym Courage, because even Harvard University had her as a study because of the song that she did. They said she was one of the bravest people to take such risk and courage to do one of her albums, and the story is in there. But the idea is that, and now I see that she takes it after her dad. I didn't know that part of the story.
Yes. Think about, I mean, like, I can tell you, we were blessed. You know, we've always lived below our means, and we've always lived comfortable. So we paid off our house like 12 years ago. And I can tell you that helped us grow as people in business as we matured. But I don't know if I would have had the courage to remortgage the house at a certain time. I think now where I'm at, I'm a different person. So that's why when God put it in our heart to, hey, it's time to go to the next level, to sell your house. My wife goes, you better go back into your prayer closet and make sure that was God, because and she thought I was crazy. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, we have a nice, decent house. But sure enough, it's like, he goes, it's time to move on. And it wasn't an easy decision, because of course we were comfortable, but I look at where we're at now, and I'm like, wow, like, but you have to
It's
put that risk
beautiful.
out there.
I saw that. It's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah, but
Yes, the view and everything's gorgeous.
but I will tell you this, that my mind was missing our old house for a while, and you got to grow out of that comfort zone, because we don't realize how much we're auto programmed by our habits and our rituals that we have every day.
Mm-hmm.
And those exact habits and rituals that we do every day in business, those are what keep us from growing and scaling and going to the next level, Dr. Bob and Dr. Sofie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Agree
Yeah.
so much.
So let me ask you, um, short term versus long term, because I know a lot of businesses tend to think short term instead of like looking at long term in terms of where they're going with the business. And I know today's is a different world, and we don't know what's going to be happening. But what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's easy. It's you create what you want to create. You have the power to manifest. And I'm going to use another great thing that I use in my trainings, right? Is it goes back to the biblical principle, and it says where there is no vision, the people perish, right? If you don't have a vision for your life, if you don't have a vision for the future, you perish. And
Mm-hmm.
the founder of IBM knew that. Think about that. The principle that I'm talking about, the founder of IBM knew that. He would envision the business that he had. He envisioned IBM growing. He envisioned himself having 50, 100 employees even before he had that.
Yep.
So we fail as human beings because you know why? Because we lose the kid in us. And
Yes.
if you don't use your imagination, and we don't realize how powerful our mind is to create the life that we want, because the dominant pictures in your head it's what's gonna direct your life. And we didn't even realize this, right? And I mean this with all sincerity. We moved into our house, and we were there, and I was looking at our vision board. I told my wife, come here. She's like, what? Look at the details of this. She's like, what? I go, look, that's our pool. And then the kitchen, right? The kitchen that my wife had in hers, it's like the exact same kitchen in our house.
Wow.
We had all these different components that we use in our imagination in our vision board, and the exercises that we did pertaining to that. It's like we created our future, and it wasn't by
Amen.
chance. But many
By
of us,
design, you designed it.
yeah, we designed it. So you can design the business that you want. The thing is, there's a lot of people out there that have money that will pay for your services and your product, if they can get in front of you, right? If they can get in front, if they can get in front of you, or that you get in front of them. But if you're think about this is, I'll just say it this way to make it simple. On a scale of 1,000, that's where gratitude and appreciation is. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're living life in fear at level 0, 100, you're never going to cross paths because you're living in fear and doubt. And the highways are open, but you're in the wrong highway. And all the stuff you want's up here in level 1,000 as to level 100 because your frequency is so low that you're missing those opportunities, but they're actually right in front of you, but you miss it because you don't see it because you're on the wrong highway.
Mm.
Correct. Correct.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and
Yes.
actually, this is scientifically proven. I mean, doing the frequency and measuring the vibration of guilt, fear, anger, all those stuff are such low vibrations. So it actually makes a lot of sense. Great talk. Love
Yeah,
this.
no, yeah. And the thing is this, and I gotta say, it was amazing because we had Dr. Sofie on our top 200 podcast, the Daniel Goleman Inspire Show, and I was looking at her at her bio, and I was just like, and it's amazing, it's impressive, but you know what stuck
Aw.
out to me, Dr. Bob? The laughter part. I said, well, I gotta find out about this. True story. We laughed a whole hour almost, and that's the episode that's aired right now. But that day, my frequency just went up so high. I actually got a new client. I
Aw.
like I did so
Wow.
great in business that day. But laughter does that to you, and as like I said,
Yes.
as we forgot to be kids, and we forgot to laugh also. So if you need energy, if you need something positive to come into your life, laugh a little bit.
That's right. That's right. And also what you did, through your wife's going through cancer, the story you shared. I heard about your friend telling you, "Hey, why don't you just go out?" And you took her out, and you watched a comedy. Like he said, well, go watch a comedy, go have fun, just let it. And it helped a lot, even through cancer. So it is
Yes.
it is the best medicine, along with good faith and prayer and all the
Yeah.
all the support system there. It's perfect.
Yeah, but so talking about that, this is something that's true. The the diagnosis they gave us, it wasn't good, right? It wasn't a good. It was kind of doom. She had just had a major surgery. We went back for the follow up. Hey, there's still cancer here, and boom, it's like another. We just got hit with the 18-wheeler again, and the
Mhm.
life was sucked out of us. And it was, now looking back, I can laugh at it. And I said, hey, let's just go look at a movie. She's like, okay. I said, hey, let's drink a margarita. She's like, well, I'm taking my medicine. I'm like, honey, at this point, we don't know if you're going to live or die. So just drink a margarita anyway. But we laughed the whole time. We had a great time watching some Christmas comedy.
There you go.
But, but,
Aww.
but sometimes you got to just, doctors only know what they know. They don't know the power of God. They don't know the power of miracles. And you have to just draw on that deeper faith. And when we went to the movies, we had such a great time that it wiped away all that negativity because
Wow.
the margarita helped a little bit, and we just laughed and joked. But it was like, okay, well, do you want to take your medicine and be worried all night, or do you want to have a margarita and let's go watch a movie and let's enjoy it? And actually, we look back now, and it's like laughter is powerful when you really, really think about the frequency level of what it does. That as people, as adults, we need to laugh a little bit more now,
It's
Dr. Bob.
actually on a very high frequency scale for real. It's amazing. I had a question about your book. We are on the Meet the Author show, and you have gotten an international bestseller, and that's pretty cool. So, what was the inspiration, picking your title and the topic for the book?
When I wrote "You Were Born to Fly," I was just learning how to fly, and I say that as an entrepreneur. I was scared, but I still took action. And I'll never forget the day I had to make a $4,000 decision. I hadn't invested that much money in myself in a long time, and I was really like just nervous and shaking, to be honest with you. But I'll never forget. I went to go get my John Maxwell certification in leadership, and it was just amazing because I met authors there. I had never met an author in life, and just the energy. We're talking about energy. The frequency in that room was amazing. And this guy happened to walk up to the table and like, yeah, somebody knew who he was, and oh yeah, your book, and I didn't even say nothing, but I just thought to myself, how awesome would it be to write a book? And that's where the seed was planted. I came back.
Okay.
I came back from San Antonio, and a month later, from Florida, because our conference was in Florida. And I said, man, it would be awesome to write a book. I had no idea what I was going to write about, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
had all this information inside of me from my 20 years of leadership, from my 20
Yeah.
years running organizations, that I'm saying this because right now, your audience watching this, you have so much wisdom that you've have had the lid on for so many years, that the moment you open yourself it up, you open yourself up to take off the lid, your life is going to change dramatically. And
Mm.
I allowed myself to open up my lid, and I had no idea that I had all this content. I was like, what am I going to write about? I started looking for a publisher, couldn't find one, got discouraged. Then the one that I found, I at the time I was like, man, in my mind, I'm like, I can't afford this guy. So I was like, well, it was a good idea. I even thought about borrowing money from a friend of mine. I said, hey, dude, I need
Oh.
$10,000. He goes, you're gonna pay me back? I'm like, yeah, I'll pay you back. But we were joking about it, and then it's like I said, you know what? I prayed about it. Said, God, I guess it's not meant to be. The very next day, I was going to go ahead and sign a contract. I didn't have the money, but I said, well, I'll pay it somehow. That's how committed I was to writing this book. I got an email from somebody. I had no idea who it was. He goes, hey, man, I can help you with this. And needless to say, he coached me through it, because even through when I was writing it, I was starting to sabotage myself, because there's a point where you hit that brick wall as a first time author. And I wanted to say, you know what, just forget it, right? You're finding every excuse. But I pushed through it. And as I pushed through it, I wrote about that. And it's just really to build your
Mm.
confidence, self-leadership, right? Because right now we lack something in America. We lack self-leadership. We lack
Correct.
self-leadership in our world, because as soon as somebody tells you something, you go to the left. Somebody else tells you something, you go to the right. And you got to stop following those fads. And it's time that you live your own blueprint for your life. And that's why
Mm.
many businesses are not making it. Many lives are falling apart, because you're too busy listening to what everybody else is saying, including the media, including the news. Right now,
Mhm.
they have us so much in fear that it's funny that if you just say boo, everybody jumps, right? Think about
Yeah.
it. And it's true, right? But the word isn't boo. You say COVID, it's like, oh no, like, come on, think about this. We've made it this far as human beings. Why are we going to allow COVID to stop it? Because you're being conditioned to believe that it's going to kill you. And I'm not knocking that it's not serious, but I would say this is that fear they put in you, it's lowering down your immune system. And that if you really just walked in that confidence and that boldness, your immune system would be a lot higher. And actually the virus wouldn't do anything to you.
Mm. And you have been traveling. So that's a perfect time to ask you, because you're in action and not many are yet, right? So
Yes.
you have someone live right now who just literally came back from a trip and speaking. And I know that you have been interactive. So tell us about the atmosphere and the transitioning. How is that feeling, and what people are what people should expect from just this transition part.
So I would say three months ago, I traveled to Dallas, and it was scary, right? Nobody was in the airport. The hotel was empty. Like literally, like nobody was moving 3 months ago. And I was still being Daniel, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to say fearless in a dumb way, but to me, it's like God's hands over me, right? To me, God's hand is over me. And like, right, I don't say it out of ignorance. I say it because I know who's watching me. So then,
Mm,
as I went to Denver, it was great to see people out there. The flight was actually almost full. I mean, there was a lot. It was night and day. But I live my life. I go on my trip as I normally would. But it's amazing how you see those people that some of them cover their face up to here. They're washing their, like, you just notice it, right? But if you walk in fear, you're going to attract the fear to you. If you walk in that negativity, you're going to attract the negativity to you. So to
mm,
answer your question, I live like it's a regular day,
mm,
because you never know when your number is going to come up anyways. And just being aware of it, yeah, you want to respect and use sanitizer and do that things, but for me, it's just I don't treat it as a different day. I say, you know what? I'm gonna have a great time. I'm gonna do what I need to do, and when you do that, I had a young lady that came up after my speech, and she was just crying, and it just touched my heart so much. She goes, "Man, I've never heard anybody speak like that."
Mm.
And and I say that because there's many people right now who are too scared to come out of their house when somebody out there in this world needs to hear their voice, right? I don't know what it is. It could be whatever message you have with inside yourself right now. And you can't deliver it through Zoom because this person is not on Zoom. They're living somewhere scared. But if you never get out of your office, if you never get out of your home, they're not going to get that need that they want, that only that need that you can fulfill. So I would say this right now, Dr. Sophie, is you have to stop thinking about yourself. And for myself, I think of the people that need to hear my voice, that God uses, that his voice speaks to me, because I can tell you that on my trip to Denver, the lady in the audience, one of them that was in the audience, and then the Lyft driver, it was just amazing. The converse, that was probably one of the best parts of my trip, is when you're able
Mm.
to see how you can impact people. And I would have never came in contact with those people if I would have stayed at home scared.
Hmm.
Did
Yeah,
that answer your question?
Yes. So when you were at the event itself, did you feel that the audience were more open and ready, the ones who actually showed up?
Yeah, I think I would say that there was a lot more people, and that they were just, of course, the hotel, like, they're doing what they got to do. They remind you every 10 seconds. If you're not eating or talking, put on your mask. But I would say the people that were there were giving hugs, shaking hands, because at the end of the
Okay.
day, at the end of the day, this is reality. And I don't care who you are, we all need the human touch. God
Mm-hmm.
created us to touch. Think of a mother, right? Think of a mother when she carries her baby in the womb for 9 months. That baby comes out and the baby's crying, but as soon as she gets on her mother's chest and her breast, the baby stops crying because it recognizes the touch of her mother, his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
right now, our country, the world really is too high tech and low touch, and we need to go back to high touch and low tech.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, talking about Virginia Satir, when she talked about we need a minimum of 8 hugs and 4 hugs to survive, like just survivor, and then you have 8 for maintenance, and then 14 to actually to grow. So
Yeah.
imagine having none of that, like zero. And I really understand the power of touch is amazing, natural because it's natural, and
Yeah. And
we're getting away from the natural stuff, and it becomes that's why people get depressed.
yeah, and to answer Dr. Bob's question, I believe that if I was to throw in a third, how can I say it, a third point that people need to do, is you need to get back in communication and the human touch, because if you don't have that human interaction, I mean, I'm not talking, I mean, not that I love people, I love Zoom has opened up a whole new world, but it's not the only way to communicate, and people are making it the only way, and you're missing that one-on-one human connection, and you got to get back to that, because if you don't, the depression comes, Dr. Sophie, like you said, because you're lonely, and until you get that human touch going, that's when those creative juices are going to flow, and that depression is going
Mm.
to go away, because we weren't created to live that way. We just weren't. That's not the blueprint of the master, right? The blueprint of the master was created us for us to communicate, to break bread together, to fellowship together, to do business together in person. And I don't care what's going on in the world, you got to make an attempt to get out of your comfort zone and not listen to the news is going to contaminate you to think the worst, to be the worst. Like when we had our speaking academy here, July 24th, right? We had our Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, and people were like, "Is Texas okay?" But and I go, "Yeah, I'm in Texas." But the news paints a worse picture than what it really is. So you can't believe everything you see in the news.
Mm.
So I want to backtrack for something you said earlier regarding that childlike quality, which that laughter brought out and everything like that. Because I know that you spent a lot of years in terms of corporate America before you launched your business and everything. During it during that time, did did the childlike quality was that tamped down? Did you notice that versus the way you came out later?
Well, for me, no, right? I was the leader of when I took over this organization, they were losing $1 million in the red.
Hmm.
And when I took it over, they said, "You're crazy. Why you want to go back over there?" I was like, I needed a challenge. I was at that point in my career where it didn't matter what my income was. I was stagnant and I was bored where I was at, and I knew like I was dying. Right, I was just kind of surviving at that. I was just kind of floating with the waves, and I saw that, and I told my wife, "Man, I need something else to come along. Like I'm bored." And most of us we tolerate that boredness because they're paying us a good amount of money. And when I took that job, they're like, "Man, you're not. It's going to take you a long time to." They estimated like 3 to 4 years. Within a year and 2 months, we turned that dealership around from $1 million losing in the red to $1 million in the black. $2 million swing, and that's a huge swing.
It is.
But we had fun. We laughed, right?
Oh,
We
good.
laughed and we had fun. And one thing that I always live by is you have to have fun at work. And I'm not saying that we weren't responsible, but if you're and to answer your question is most people, they want things to be perfect, and nothing's going to be perfect, especially when things are falling apart.
Hmm.
So when you learn to appreciate your people, they'll bend over backwards to make sure things are right. Not perfect, but right. And sometimes you just need to get back on the right track before things can be perfect. And that's where most organizations miss it, Dr. Bob.
Yes. In fact, I've seen that with a lot of organizations that they just don't, in a sense, and I like to say that they don't have fun within the
Yeah.
organization. They're very like tight, especially a lot of the older organizations with the older people and everything like that. And I have to say, because I'm part of that older crowd, but I like to have fun. There's a lot of people that are basically stuck in the mud in terms of the way they're thinking and thinking this is the way we have to run an organization. This way we did it 50 years ago, and you follow this instead of like what you did. You like shifted not only the organization, but you shifted the state of the leadership, which is powerful, and that's what's really needed.
Yeah, because you have to shock it, right? You gotta shock it. And this is for somebody out there. If you want your business to grow, I'm gonna give you a simple $1 million solution for free. Will you play some damn music on your organization? Play music. Play music. Every morning I got to work, I had the radio playing. I had that's when Pandora. It was before Spotify. I had Pandora playing, and it's like it just got everybody dancing. Would have fun, and it just loosened everybody up. And if you really want to change your atmosphere, you got to change the music you're playing. Because if you're not playing music, you're dying.
Ah, I love
Yes, I love that.
good
Yes,
band, good band.
Yeah,
you got him started. That,
right. You got to do the twist, like Dr. Sofie was doing before we got on. You got to do the twist. You got to because everybody can relate to music. Everybody understands music, right?
Yeah.
It's a natural human instinct. Everybody loves to dance to some form or another music. Some slower, some faster, but it doesn't matter. But I went to this organization. And I asked a simple question, and they're in trouble when they don't know the answer to this question. I asked, "What's the culture? What's your culture like?" And they look at me like Scooby-Doo. I'm like, man, no bueno, man. That's yeah.
Where are
They give me that Scooby-Doo. I was like, well, no wonder you're losing hundreds of thousands because you don't even have a culture. You don't even know what your culture's like.
and that's big.
Yes. And most people don't know what their culture is in their organization. They don't know. They couldn't tell you.
So within the organization, because I know that one of my mentors, W. Edwards Deming, because I studied him for many decades, and he's the one that turned around the Japanese economy from post World War II, to becoming one of the top economies. Especially they created low quality products to high quality products, and they shifted. And then the United States actually rejected Deming until 1980, when there was a special that came out that I believe it was on CBS. They said, um, if Japan can do it, why can't we? And they interviewed W. Edwards Deming, and then corporate America finally found out about him, and he said that it's the system within the organization that was troubling, and a system is controlled by the leadership. You can't blame the workers down below. It's the leadership on top, and it seems like that's where you've been focused, is on that leadership, correct?
Yeah, and and I know that story because I studied that. But
Yeah.
it goes back to what we talked about. The Japanese had a vision.
Yep.
They said, America's kicking our ass. They're way ahead of us. What do we need to do? So they set a vision. They set goals. And the major goal they set, that we're going to catch the American economy in quality by a certain year. I think it was 1980 or something like that. I don't want to misquote the year, but they actually hit their goals that they set. And we were the target. And that just shows the power of vision and the power of having goals, right? I'm not just saying just a goal that you think about, but really putting it to pen to paper and planning out your goals and executing it. And that's how their economy bounced back. I didn't know who the gentleman's name was, but when I did my research on that, when I really studied it, it was the power of the goals that they set, and they didn't give up. They took care of the small details, and all the big details took care of themselves because they had that vision, they had the goal set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, who you mentioned, it was Deming in part, and then the Toyota management system, which came out of his work and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah.
That's amazing, and what an amazing character and ethics to teach and to have a whole country follow that, just to show you leadership is so important.
Very
And
important.
when it is in confident leadership and it's committed and it's ethical, it really does magic, and it's amazing. And when you asked Danielle about the company, they had, were they like that with childlike playfulness? I kind of guessed it, because when he said they were in the red of a million, right, and then to go to a positive, I mean, to use that and to demonstrate that and to recommend that for anyone listening who is in that type of authority and leadership, to spice and enhance, because your psychology is so important. I mean, mental health is so jeopardized, up to over 70% as we speak in corporate America. So we can't go and regress anymore. It is time to that real awakening as a collective consciousness in such areas. So whatever tips that you are getting from listening to an expert in this area, start applying them, because we can't go, we have to act urgently. We don't have more time to keep in this stagnant movement. There has to be real action, but in a healthy way. So it's not
Yeah.
jeopardizing the health. And so whether it's a laughter and music, yes, add that to your day, to your work, to your employees. Allow joy to surround your meetings, and laughter to be part of your memory recall into your experiences that you're creating with whether it's clients or your team, so that everyone can grow and prosper and celebrate life together. So that was awesome. I really like that, Danielle. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it starts with self leadership, right? So you were born to fly is about self leadership, and I get a kick out of it because I hear a lot of young entrepreneurs. I'm gonna dominate. I'm gonna dominate. I'm gonna dominate. Right? They see a video on YouTube and they want to dominate, and they can't even wake up on time every day to go to the gym to invest in themselves. They can't even lead themselves, right? I mean, I'm being real, right? We hear that word, that new fad. I'm gonna dominate. Well, get your ass up at 5 o'clock every morning, 4 o'clock, and go do something with yourself. But that's a person that wakes up at 7, 9, 6, 7, 10. They're not consistent. And if you don't have consistency, you're not going to dominate. So
Correct.
the first thing you got to dominate is you got to dominate your morning routine. You got to dominate what you eat. You got to dominate your health. Because if you don't have the energy, the creativity, you're not going to dominate anything. So I get a kick out of people that say, yeah, I'm going to dominate. Let's go dominate. It's like, dude, you can't even get out of bed on time. Like, come on, man, right? And I say that with respect, men and women. You have to dominate yourself. You got to dominate your weaknesses. You got to dominate. If you eat too much, you got to dominate your diet. If you don't exercise, you got to dominate. You got to start doing something, because it's proven. The studies show that most decamillionaires are in great shape.
Yep.
Let me say it again. Most decamillionaires, I would say over 90% of decamillionaires, are more fit than most people that are younger than them.
Yep.
True story.
I would 1000% agree, concur in everything with you, because that's what's going to give you the energy and a drive. If you're out of shape, and even like my old profession in law enforcement, 42% of law enforcement officers are obese. 42%. And they're not going to be able even to think in a right way. So if your cognition drops, because now I'm speaking as a neuroscientist, if your cognition drops because of the obesity, you're not going to have the drive to take on those challenges, especially as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you need to have that maintained focus and that drive, like you said, to get up early, to push forward, to make adjustments when necessary, and being unfit, it just perturbs me when I see people out there, and especially young people. I remember I was telling Sofie, I came across a young guy the other day, and he was working at a local grocery store.
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's.
I'm not, listen, if you're the audience, okay, I'm not having you curious.
So here's this young guy, and he was telling me that he has hip problems, lower back problems, knee problems, ankle problems, all these kind of problems. And then I started doing like these like plyometric jumps up in the air, and then doing my plyometric push-ups and all this kind of stuff. Then I asked him how old he was. He said 22 years old. And I was saying, huh? You're acting like a person that's like 92 years old and not 22 years old, because this is not right. I'm over 3 times your age, and you're doing this. You can't even, like it, so it just drives me bonkers when I see people. And by the way, you brought up a subject that I'm very passionate about.
I can tell you got on fire there. I was like, boom, baby.
Yeah, when it comes to like health and fitness, I used to speak on this subject. By the way, I used to travel, and my good friend Dr. Lori Shemick is a friend of Sofie's as well. So we spoke, we did seminars and everything across the country, and I would do a lot of demos at my age. And by the way, I've been doing, you know what parkour is?
Parkour.
You see these kids throwing obstacles off of buildings and over obstacles and everything, like on YouTube videos, like that ninja kind of stuff.
Yeah, we watched the Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, well, I actually tried out for 1 season on that, by the way. Yeah, but going up the side of buildings, jumping up, and everything like that. So parkour, I've been doing that for over 10 years. And so I will challenge any of the young people, the young entrepreneurs, listen to this guy. He is spot on.
Yes,
he is freaking spot on, big time, when it comes to health and fitness and everything. So listen to what he has to say as an entrepreneur, because you need to almost have that drive as an athlete.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom, baby. Yeah. Woo, boom. Yeah. You gotta have it.
Bada bim, bada boom.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on that, because when you're in the gym and you're tired, it's not the reps that when you feel great, it's once when you're in pain, that one more set, one more rep. I always say that, right? One more set, one more rep when I go speak to high school football teams. And you got to do that one more set, one more rep, even when you don't feel like it. Because there's going to come a time in your business that you're not going to want to do it, but you got to have to do one more set, one more rep. And when you condition your mind to that resilience is going to push you through to the next level. And most people don't have that resilience. And that's a good example, that would be the fourth thing that I would say to answer your question from earlier, Dr. Bob, is if you don't have the resilience, there's only one way to build it, and it's being in the fire.
Yep.
And if you don't condition your mind to do one more set, one more rep, your business ain't gonna be as successful as it can be. And you have to condition yourself and teach yourself that. And working out is a good way to do it, because there's many times I go for a jog and man, I want to quit after the first half mile, but you make yourself run. You find that will. And I think Dr. Sofie and Dr. Bob will agree with this, is that you can teach anything in neuroscience, but you can't teach will. And that
Yeah.
will has to come from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to make a suggestion. I'm going to piggyback on top of your tip. I'm going to suggest everybody, when you first get up in the morning, besides writing in a journal or that kind of stuff, I'm going to make a suggestion that you spend a minimum just 5 minutes. If you've
You went on mute. Dr. Bob.
oh,
You hit something.
what the
You
heck
got excited.
happened?
You got excited. Boom, baby. The boom blew out your microphone.
Boom, boom, boom. Blew out my voice there. Okay, so let me. So
The
I'm gonna
5 minutes. We got to the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make a suggestion that spend 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Just do something. I get up and I do a high intensity interval training. I really get my heart going, and I usually do like 3 workouts a day, and and I will push myself. It doesn't matter even your age. You get out there and do it. And if I can do it, and I remember Daniel, you thought I was like your age, and I'm like, yeah, I could be your father, right?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, don't look at your age. Just get out there and do it. And and again, listen to him. You will just absolutely start kicking booty in terms of what you're doing in your business and otherwise. But just keep going at it, keep going at it, keep going at it. And
Amen.
Amen to
yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I want to let your audience know that they can get this awesome book, You Were Born to Fly. It's on Amazon. It's gonna change your life. It's gonna really open your heart to different ideas. You were born to fly, right? Be original, be the best you, because stop trying to copycat everything. Just be you. And the moment you try
Oh,
to,
please say that
the,
again. One more
yeah,
time.
be
Stop
original.
copycatting.
Yeah, that's the name of that's the subtitle. I never talk about it. Be original, be the best you.
Yes.
The moment you start to copycat everybody and just be you, everything will start fall in place, because you weren't designed to be that other person. You were designed to be yourself. And I promise
Correct.
Mhm.
you that when you read this book, you're going to take away two things that are going to change your life, and it's going to make a huge difference, because I know that, because I see the difference in my own self and in my children.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. Can I ask a question? Currently, with everything that happened, how did this pandemic really impact your life in a positive way? And what were the steps that you took to get there?
So I don't mean to sound corny, but I would say it definitely helped me and my wife to fall back in love again even more.
Oh,
Mm.
well, you know what's so crazy about what you just said? Do you know the sad part? The sad part is the domestic violence has risen more than ever with the pandemic, that more people were fighting because of the pandemic. And to hear this is beautiful. Guys, please take notes and lessons.
Yeah. Well, and how can I? Because we're empty nesters. My son's a junior at Texas State. My daughter, she moved out, so it's just us and the dogs, right? It's Bucket and Sophie. But I would say I really enjoyed. I got, like, I guess back in March, April, we were having lunch together. We would have lunch almost like at 1 o'clock every day, and we went to a barbecue, and some friends of ours, and I asked, me being the coach, I said, well, what's the takeaway you've learned, right? I asked that, and we came to this one guy, and he goes, well, I didn't learn. It hasn't affected, right? He went to the money part in his own thinking. Well, I'm doing good. We have money. We're doing good. I was like, you haven't learned nothing from the whole thing? He goes, no. So when it came back to me, like he jumped at the point to like kind of criticize me, right? And well, what have you learned, Daniel? And I was like, well, I've learned to really enjoy having lunch with my wife. I've never had the opportunity that we've been together over 20 years, and it's been pretty amazing. And it's just seeing my wife from a different perspective because I've never seen her from that point to where,
Aww.
just so it's been good, right? It's been good.
Yes,
And
yes, yes, yes.
I've learned as we've grown, right? Of course, the more time you spend together, am I going to say it's been utopia? No, but I've learned to not be as selfish because I realized that I was real selfish, and especially being Hispanic, usually Hispanic wives cater to their husbands, and I learned to try to cater back as much as she catered to me. So it's been good.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And because like in business you got to be selfless in business, and I think I didn't. So to answer your question, I learned that I valued my wife more, that it helped us to fall back in love, but I learned in business, because of that, not to be so selfish, because I realized that I was more selfish than what I realized.
Got it.
Mm.
Got it. I know that.
Wow, wow. This is what this it's what I really respect, your honesty and openness about this, because it takes a strong man courage to speak that. But like you said, you don't know who's hearing this that can
Yeah.
gain and learn to open their eyes and reflect inwards to areas that they might have been uh, more self-centered or selfish and not recognize it until something happened to force them to take different ways of action. And now you're really reflecting well. So that's a very amazing
Yes.
point.
Yeah, I know that we're coming down to the end. There's a lot more questions I did want to ask you, especially piggybacking on that. I'm going to save that for another time.
Well, we need when he's on Meet the Author show today. We need him on Meet the Expert on
Yes.
another one.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
1 hour is not enough with them.
I mean, because I think having your wife here would have been pretty cool, but maybe next time as well.
Yes, by then
Yeah.
she'll have to tell us about all the conference and everything else. Perfect.
Well, thank
Awesome
you. I take that
inspiration.
as a compliment, Dr. Bob and Dr. Sophie.
Oh, it is. It is a genuine, sincere compliment that you deserve to hear. That your action, your thoughts, and decisions that you made for a better union has earned you to be in that spot. And it's a beautiful experience that you're now cherishing and experimenting. Imagine after all these years and the kids are out, most marriages is when they start feeling lonely and more depressed, and really the gap is felt more. And you're just, look at this, it just went the opposite, and that's awesome.
It
Yeah.
is. It
Thank
is.
you.
So not
Yes,
only was a show about leadership, but it seems like it was leadership at home and
relationships.
relationships, especially, and everything. So yeah, so we got more than what we expected from you, Daniel.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
having me. It's been an honor to be here, and I want to say thank you for
Oh,
having me. It's been
our
amazing.
pleasure.
Our pleasure. Yeah, normally I would ask you what 3 tips, but you've already delivered the tips earlier, so that's amazing. And
Your favorite quote?
do you have a favorite quote?
Yeah, so actually, I wear it on me. I don't know if I had one of my, but I have my little wristbands. They say, "Your best is yet to come." So just
Ah,
Ah,
know that no
yes.
matter where you're at, your best is yet to come. So when you see it from that perspective, you have something to look forward to every day, because no matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter. Your best is yet to come.
amen. Amen. That's a very hopeful message, and it's inspiring for those who need to remind themselves with that. So we keep growing, and the best is yet to
The
come.
best is yet to come. And what are the best ways for people to get a hold of you if they want to hire you as a speaker?
See, we
As
talked about the
a,
best is yet to come, and then
um,
now he is
yeah.
the best. Here we
the-
go.
So what's the best way to get a hold of?
Oh, to get up, man. Well, I'll tell you what. You can inbox me here on. You can message me here on Facebook or YouTube. But my email is Daniel@DanielGomezSpeaker.com. That's Daniel@DanielGomezSpeaker.com. My website is DanielGomezSpeaker.com, and you can contact me through there. Or if not, you can call me directly on my phone. Right, I always check my messages, or my assistant does. It's 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. And my brand is Daniel Gomez Inspires. That's what my
And
logo,
he
right?
has an amazing podcast
my
too.
my my logo is Daniel Gomez Inspires, is the
Awesome.
shield of faith. So when you Google that, you'll find one of my feeds, and I definitely want to connect with your people, and however I can serve. I love to speak. I love to just coach and add value to people. So definitely, I have, I'm never too good to help anybody. So I work
Oh,
with people. If you need help, especially during this season, whatever I can do, I go above and beyond, Dr. Bob. So thank you.
Fantastic. And by the way, they can
blessings.
kind of find they can find your link in the description, so you can go check him out right now and find out more about him, about this amazing guy here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The spotlight's on you.
Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
thank you, thank you. What a
Thank-
way to end the Friday, right? I'm not
Yeah.
boom, baby.
Boom. Woo!
Boom,
Yes.
boom.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! Yes.
Hoorah!
There you go.
Yeah. And
Thank
again,
you so much. That was
thank you,
awesome.
Danielle, for tuning in. And by the way, we have our shows on wisdomcafe.live, so you can go there and check out past episodes. We're going to have more information there as well. And I'm
You can
currently
check the
building up,
replays.
check all the replays, and we will have a replay of this. So you can go there directly as well, and on YouTube and on Facebook Live as you're watching it, if you're watching from both places. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to
Thank you.
tonight's
Yes.
episode, and I'm so happy to have this amazing guy on tonight, Daniel
Yes.
Gomez, the Daniel
Thank
Gomez.
you.
So yes,
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great night. God bless
Blessings.
y'all.
thank you, everybody.
Blessings.
Bye. Bye now.
Blessings. Blessings. Bye.